Just took a bit longer to find my way home. Chapter 1. Alone again, naturally. It had started out with a simple sign at the front of Donor Lord and Pretzel Lady's house. He had been heading over to secretly join Pretzel Lady for her stretching exercises when he had first noticed. It hadn't been there the night before, when he had dropped by their house to see if they had any good scraps from dinner. But there it sat in the grass, with the words "for sale" in big, bold letters. He didn't know what they were trying to sell. Maybe their truck? He didn't know why they would sell their truck. It might not have been one of the newer models, but it still worked perfectly fine. Were they selling furniture? But that didn't make sense. Wouldn't they put the furniture out for people to see if they were selling it? Sonic didn't understand. He had never seen any houses in Green Hills with this sign in front of it before. At least, he thought he hadn't. So he had decided to take a closer look. There wasn't anything besides numbers underneath the words. He simply shrugged and went back to join Pretzel Lady in secret. Then things started getting weirder. A few days later, people he had never seen before entered the house, with some woman in a fancy suit leading them inside, while Pretzel Lady and Donut Lord were at work. He wanted to warn Donut Lord that random people were entering his house without permission. They could possibly be intruders. Well, he had taken it upon himself to make sure nothing got stolen, so he watched them. But all they did was look around the house. Sonic just became more confused as the days went by, and a few more people he had never seen before looked around the house, never stealing anything and always when Pretzel Lady and Donut Lord were at work. Sonic thought it was super weird, but he figured that if nobody was stealing anything as they walked through the house, then it wasn't anything to worry about. So he continued his days of watching the amazing town of Green Hills from afar. And then, out of nowhere, Donut Lord wasn't at the speed trap. Sonic had waited for what felt like hours. He had circled the entire area 10 times, yet the man didn't show up. Had Donut Lord called in sick? He didn't know. But he was getting bored. Guess today just wasn't the day to break his speed record. Oh well, there was always tomorrow. He just made his usual rounds around town before stopping by at Donut Lord and Pretzel Lady's house. The sign on the front lawn was different. The words "sold" covered up the words "for sale." He watched as that truck pulled out of the driveway. They must be going somewhere. And that's when he noticed the much bigger truck following them down the road. That was odd. Curious, Sonic peeked inside the windows of their home. The living room was bare, empty. Sonic felt his heart skip a beat. The beige couch was gone. The giant flat screen TV wasn't there. The weird abstract picture of a red cow wasn't hanging on the wall anymore. The blue and white carpet was gone. He slowly shook his head. Something was wrong. He checked another window that led into the kitchen. All the appliances were still there, but as he peered into the dining room, he realized that the table and chairs were gone. He looked through every single window he could. Each room came up bare and empty. And that's when it finally sunk in. They have left. His most favorite people on Earth have left Green Hills, and he had no idea where they were going. He might never see them again. He slapped his cheeks a few times.
Calm down, Sonic. You don't know that they've left for good. What do you mean? Of course they left for good. You don't just drive away with all your furniture so you can go on vacation.
He grumbled to himself. He nervously tapped his fingers against his arms. A week. He would give himself a week before he would freak out. Everything would be fine. And that's what he reminded himself as he ran back to his cave. And why he reminded himself when he ran to Donut Lord's house out of habit to see if he could find anything good in their trash for dinner. He had found nothing, and he tried the next house over. He came up with nothing, and nothing after that, and nothing after that. He ended up going to sleep that night without dinner. He couldn't find anything that was safe to eat. And he reminded himself that everything would be fine when he went by the speed trap. And when he went to the backyard of the house to see if Pretzel Lady would begin her stretches, only to see a new truck similar to the one that had been following Donut Lord and Pretzel Lady a couple of days ago. New furniture he had never seen before was put in the house. A new family he had never seen before just entered the place, set their furniture in the wrong places. The TV was supposed to go on the right wall, not the left. The dining table was supposed to be vertical, not horizontal. There was supposed to be a wreath on the front door. Instead, the front door was bare. And it was all wrong. These people just came into the house that he would sort of call his own and completely changed and eradicated it. He knew the house. He had peered inside it and watched Donut Lord and Pretzel Lady for years. And now these new people had ruined it. But he still had a few days before the week was up. Maybe this was all just a huge mistake. And so he went about his days. But instead of seeing Pretzel Lady and Donut Lord whenever he stopped by, he watched these new people go about their daily routine. It wasn't the same. Everything was wrong. And when the week was finally up and nothing had changed, he still couldn't accept what he had already known. They were gone. They had left. And he felt all alone again. Why had they left? Why were they gone? Did they realize he was spying on them and got freaked out and decided to leave? Had he done something wrong? Was this just more punishment for what he had done to Longclaw? Would this crushing loneliness that just seemed to grow never go away? Would it consume him until he felt numb? Sonic ran. He ran deep into the forest as blue sparks and lightning flared from the quills on his body. He didn't even notice as he ran. He tripped on a large tree root, causing him to be ripped out of his sprint of 186 miles per hour. He fell hard and fast, hitting the ground and getting dirt in his fur. He didn't even care. He laid there for a while, letting it all sink in again. They were gone. He was all alone. Alone. He slowly sat up, his body trembling and tears stinging in his eyes. The lightning and sparks grew in size and color. What was once a light blue was now a sharp electric cobalt. Sonic curled his hands into fists and let out a sob. A few tears rolled down his cheeks, and suddenly, all of his emotions came bubbling to the surface, all at once in one horrible raging storm. He let out an anguished scream. Alone. He was alone. What he didn't realize in his sorrow was the wave of energy and power that exploded from his being in one big blue shockwave. So big, it didn't just hit the small town of Green Hills, completely cutting the power. It hit the entire state of Montana, the entirety of the Midwest, then the entire west side of the United States, knocking out a satellite as it orbited over the Earth as well. And when his throat was raw from screaming and his eyes were red from crying, he succumbed to his exhaustion and passed out in the middle of the forest.